Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have a fun conversation ahead today. And hello, Ramie and Jessica that are here. And our guest is Kelly Daniels. And I'd like to read a little bit to introduce you to Kelly. She has been a professional photographer with her business, the Kelly Gallery, for over 30 years, specializing in Indigenous people around the world, as well as family and children's portraits and weddings on her private 10 acres of forest in the Blue River Valley of Overland Park, Kansas. She is a certified forest therapy guide leading Shinrin-Yoku walks and assisting people with their healing through nature. She is the executive director of the Blue River Forest Nature Sanctuary, a nonprofit organization that protects land and native plants near the headwaters of the Blue River, the largest watershed in the Kansas City area flowing into the Missouri River. The land was part of the Blackbob Reservation and was the main campgrounds of the Blackbob Chief of the Shawnee Indians. The Blue River Forest Experience hosts and facilitates experience-based connections to nature for people of all ages and week-long summer day camps for children. Their mission is to foster passion for environmental protection, self-empowerment, physical and mental health and well-being, and compassion for the native plants and animals, creating a deeper connection to themselves, others, and the world. And that's beautiful. And Kelly, thanks so much for joining us today. We're glad you're here. And
Thank you.
oh, you're welcome. And I was just wondering, you had said in your bio that you'd been the photographer for 30 years. And I'm wondering, um, I had the pleasure of meeting you in person and being there at your forest a couple months ago. And it was a really wonderful time. And Ramie was able to join us there too that day. And I was wondering, when did you start the forest sanctuary? And what, like, heartstrings called you there, or your heritage, or whatever? Can you tell us your story?
Sure. So about 20 years ago, I took my two sons when they were 6 and 10 to a camp in Oregon that was based on indigenous skills, like basic living skills, creating bow drills, and learning about the really immersion into nature. And it was a family thing. So it was a week-long thing, and I was pretty blown away by the whole thing. It was a major shift in my world. I was a, very successful portrait photographer and worked like crazy. I was a total workaholic, and it slowed me down. And it, I learned very strongly that when you slow down in nature, you start to feel your heart. And I probably cried for 3 days because I didn't want to leave. And I didn't want to come home. And I was like, my whole goal in life was to create this home and on this land for my photography business. So I've been in a lot of magazines and things for my photography business, and that's why I did this. But and I always loved connecting people to nature. It was always outdoor things that I did with the children and helping them not be afraid of the bees and all these things that helping them feel joy when I photograph them and kind of connecting them in that way. But when I went to these camps, it was so life-changing for my sons and myself that I was like, oh my gosh, if I can't move to Oregon, I need to bring Oregon here. And I really started to. I came home and I just started doing trails in the woods. I had just bought an extra 7 acres and I was just like on a mission. Like I was crazed. My kids were like, if people couldn't find me, they would always say, I don't know, mom's somewhere in the woods. So I was like an insane, like forest woman. And so that's where my whole shift really happened. And before that, I was a Johnson County soccer mom, successful businesswoman. And it reminded me of my childhood when my parents lived on, they actually, my dad worked for Mobile Oil Company, and he quit his job, and they came to Missouri from New Jersey to live on the land. And my mom had a book called Billy Joe Tatum's Wild Food Cookbook, and it was like all these like wild plants and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, like there's all this free food out in the woods, and we were like really poor. And so to me, that was just like mind blowing. And I still have this book. And as I got older, I was started reconnecting to that old like passion that I had, as a child, where, they say that when you reconnect to your childhood passions, that's who you really are, right? Like instead of like businesswoman, like how to make money and have a big house and all this stuff. And I really started going, okay, there's something else here. And so these books that I read that took me to Oregon, it's by Tom Brown Jr. So it was about this guy who spent 10 years in the wilderness with an Apache elder and in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. Coincidentally, I actually lived in New Jersey while this Apache elder was in New Jersey. And the first place I camped and I would go would be in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey. So he was there when I was there. So I kind of feel like he somehow like connected to me. And I feel like he's like a guide or something. Like he was like, oh yeah, you're supposed to do this. And everything changed when I went to the camps. And it took me years, but it was just like, okay, I started to meet up and I'm like, okay, I need to reconnect. I need to connect with people and connect with people that are interested in nature, that want to bring their children to nature, because I watched my sons completely shift in that week, eating like, it was like a detox from their, the computer world and the Johnson County materialistic, stuff. I wanted to take them someplace where they could see that there's a different world, and just in case they can't, create what I created, that they're not like, devastated when they grow up, that they can live very simply and realize that we don't really need all this stuff, that actually we can survive outside, and how empowering that is. And it was empowering to them. And it was so like, they felt the difference. It was so heart opening for them. And so I decided we were going to go every year. So I went every year, and they became interns. They became teachers. I got to come here, do weekend camps. So it's been a process of, shifting from my photography business to shifting to a nonprofit. And my son, Ben, helps run the nonprofit. And Sam is also a teacher in our school. And they're just like amazing young men. And they like grew up going to these things in Oregon. And they have a real heart and passion for the nature and for helping people. So that's kind of how I got started. And Ben really helped me get the nonprofit started. I learned about this land when I first came here. I knew there was something special about it, but I didn't know what it was. And I started researching it, and I found out that where the Wolf Creek and the Coffee Creek come together is the beginning of the Blue River. And that's what is here. And this is where the main campgrounds of the Blackbob Chief of the Shawnee Indians were. Now, they were the last Indians that were here. Of course, there was a lot of other Indians, the Kaw, and I've had a lot of ceremonies on my land to help give back thanks and honoring to the ancestors here. And when I do this, these like large points, arrowheads show up in the place where I do ceremony. And so many like magical things have happened here that, it's like undeniable that there is something special here. And these ancestors are here to protect this place. It's a very special place here. And these things that I've found are 6,000 years old. So these ancestors are not just like the Shawnees. They're like way back when. So much has happened in this valley where The Civil War came through here. The Blackbobs actually left for a while because it was violent. We're close to the state line. So there's a lot of healing is to occur in this valley. And I've been told that I'm a caretaker, protector of this valley, to bring back the sacred and bring back the peace to the valley and help it heal. So that's one of the reasons that the children are so important, in the playfulness, healing, and the ancestors love it, So I had this deeper connection with this. But most people, they don't know what it is that they're feeling here. And I like to be a bridge between two worlds. So I have my affluent clients, and then I have my nature people friends. And so I like to bring the two worlds together. And, I can't be too woo-woo about that, like the two worlds. So, the nature camps, I connect to the general public, and they're blown away. Like the families are like, I don't know what you're doing, but my children are like changed, and they feel so happy again. And there's just like, they're crying. They're like so happy as to like what's happening to their kids. And really what we call it is HASA, highly organized, seemingly spontaneous activities. So it's like they feel like they're in the flow, and they're just kind of free, a little bit free. Like we're very organized in how we do it in their freedom, but we allow them to immerse into the nature, and we circle up and we talk about things all the time. So it's a constant experience circle, and they're always heard. This doesn't happen in their worlds. They're in schools where they're in, lines, and they listen and they are good. And here they're like involved, like they're immersed, and they're feeling good, and they're not sure why. They don't know why, but oh my gosh, they're so happy here. And we have clay that we collect from the river, and we create, they make pots and things, and they see like how it goes from a rock into like something that you can make, and they put it all over their body, and it's like they are like detoxed. I swear, like something's happening to them, because by the end of the week they're like these tough, smart aleck boys, and like insecure, shy little kids. They're like boom, like they're like feeling love. And I love that. Like, I love to see that transition. So that's what we do with the kids. And then forest therapy I do with adults, and I do very similar things with them. I integrate what I learned in Oregon with the forest therapy. So I'm all about helping them realize that everything is speaking to them, and everything is bringing them a message about themselves. One of the things that the Apache elder always said is, what does this mean? What does this mean? And that's about like, what is this teaching me about myself? Everything that happens to us is teaching us something about ourselves, being aware. So much of this that we're teaching is awareness, how to become aware. And when you become aware, you're present, you're in the moment. And that's why it feels so good, right? Like people are always like, oh, worried about the past, or what are they going to do in the future? And they're like havoc all the time. And I can totally relate with that, because I do the same thing. And when I'm working with these people and I'm helping them like just slow down and listen and use their senses other than their eyes, kids and people are in tunnel vision. They're looking at screens now. And we teach them about wide angle vision, using their peripheral vision. There is something that happens to you when you start doing that. It opens your world. It's a very spiritual thing to go into peripheral vision. And we just don't know that and don't do it. And so I'm teaching people these things like fox walking, and how to walk slowly, and how to walk like the Indians did, and how to see like the Indians did, to become aware of the world around them. They had to survive. We need to survive. We just don't know it. We don't know why we're so depressed, and why we're so anxious, and why we're, so disconnected from one another. and how do we get back? How do we get back there? How do we get back to our hearts and ourselves? And nature is this perfect door into the spirit world, that like, where everybody agrees with it. Everybody loves nature. No one can say nature is not a good thing. People know it. It's a general thing, even if you're not spiritual or anything like that. It's just like people feel good there, and they don't really know why, but I love the fact that that is a tool to help them reconnect to their hearts and reconnect to who they are and reconnect to each other. That's what we're supposed to be. We're supposed to be a tribe. So these kids, I'm like, okay, we're a tribe here. So if there's like little disagreements, or somebody's trying to make a fort over here and not including these kids, I'm like, okay, we're a tribe. We always include each other, and we always help each other. If someone's having a rough time, we talk about it. And that's so much part of what I do here, is just helping people communicate and talk to each other and see the magic of the forest. It's like, you don't see it unless you're walking slowly, unless you're listening, unless you're like seeing, like you don't see it. It's like, and when they start to do that, they start to like realize there's something more here than just the trees. Like, what is happening to me? And I love that, like that. So that's kind of like my life purpose and my life goal, is to like help people experience that also, because I saw shift in my family.
Wait for the connection to clear here. And it's kind of like what I notice, like say, Ramie, when you and I do hypnosis a lot of times and stuff, it's like whether we use the telephone or Zoom, it's like when there's people where there's really, really high passion and high, extreme high energy on both ends of the line, then it's like zip, the electronics can't handle it.
I don't even know where I was.
You were talking about, I think, Ben maybe being a soccer player.
Yeah, they were both really soccer players. Thing here, like Johnson County, you just do soccer.
There, she can try to click back on. I know exactly what she says about, kids being, in tunnel vision, especially, I mean, I get in tunnel vision, but it's like I have an older adopted granddaughter, right, who is, let's see, she's about 10 or 11. And it's like when we have her out here, it takes almost 2 hours to get her out of her cell phone tunnel vision, right? And to keep her off the cell phone and to look at us when we talk to her. It's just, she's a nice girl, but it's just that she's totally into the phone constantly, right? And then once she's able to get out of that tunnel vision and see us and hear us, then we can have a fun day together. But it's
Yeah,
but
I
getting
bet
over that hump is hard.
right. And I bet she doesn't even like coming over, thinking that she has to give up her phone, and then
Probably, yeah.
right, and then she really likes it. I
Yeah.
mean, because you get, I can see that. Yeah.
It's a awesome conversation to learn about her work. When I was there back in, was it March, Ramie, that we were there?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a beautiful 10 acres on the hillside, kind of, and then there's the overflow from the river that she also uses for it, that is kind of like a wildflower field, or what do you call it, prairie grass field. And yeah, it's
I could feel the water.
So Sam got so many injuries that he got what's called amplification syndrome, which is an epidemic in that where they are in chronic pain all the time because they didn't listen. Your pain receptors are made to, like, when they say it hurts, well, sports, they're told to push through. and he's really good at pushing through. And he got like so many like concussions, broken ankles, everything. And so he got to be so much pain that he had to quit soccer, which is very depressing for him. But we found this program. So Children's Mercy had a great program where they did massage therapy, occupation therapy, meditation, yoga, because drugs didn't work. So it was an amazing experience for him. And he'll say that it was for him to shift into that role of learning about these healing modalities, right? And so he understands the benefit, like the reason why he got this disease. And the final thing that really put him over the edge of healing was he went to Oregon to teach for 7 weeks. The camps there, and so he was immersed in the nature, and it completely shifted everything. So it was 15 years old. So we've had very personal, strong experiences with nature and the capacity to heal that it has. And it seems like a simple thing, and it's like, well, you know, everybody likes it and everything, but they just don't know how to connect to it anymore. They're very disconnected. Right. So that's what we're here for, and that's what we do.
Right. Well, I know. That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Beautiful. I've had experiences where, like, I've had experiences where I was not feeling good or things, and I'd go out and hold a tree and ask its energy to heal me, and it does. It's like the pain goes away, or the brain fog goes away, and you just know when you're good.
Yeah, one of the things they would teach the kids tree preaching. So they would go, like, when you have something you need to talk about, or you're mad about something, you're upset about something, you find a tree and you talk to it, and you like let it know, and you like give it all your stuff and get it all out, because it wants it. It'll take all of what you need to give. And so we teach kids these kind of things, like how to connect with the tree, like what to do, just like talk to it. And even with the plants, like I'll sit them down when I find a wild edible plant, and I'll have them sit among the plants, and I'll say, okay, we're going to listen to the plant, and I'm going to pass this little plant around to you, and I want you to ask it what it's for, because you actually know what it's for. So you're going to connect with this. You're going to ask the plant, and you're going to keep it to yourself. And then I go around and I'll ask each one of them to whisper to me what it is. And it is amazing how connected they are. And it's neat for them to see the magic of it. They've never had anybody tell them to like talk to a plant or listen to a plant, or the plant had a purpose, you know, like that the plant is there for you, like, and to help you. And they, you know, nobody tells them this stuff, like nobody, like, and I can get these little things into their heads while I have them in the woods. And then they, you know, then they can, you know, have planted these seeds inside of them, so that maybe someday they'll go, oh yeah, I remember that, you know, even though they might be disconnected in so many lives, I'm planting seeds in them to help them in the future.
Yes,
I just
absolutely.
feel like it's really important. And I have a responsibility to this land and to the ancestors here, you know, plant those seeds, and not just to bring joy back to the land, you know, to help the land heal, but also to help these children to like become aware. It's a great way for spiritual awareness, like, you know, like,
oh, it is.
Another whole nother spectrum, you know, that they would not have had. So yeah, I like that. We do a lot of things with arts. I'm going to a basket weaving thing where I learn how to process the bark from cedars and wild cedars and all these things that we do to like just help them reconnect using their hands, you know, using a bow, how to make a bow drill to like start, you know, doing a fire, and all of these things, like an activity it's actually a meditation to where they're actually focused on one thing, and they're focused, and it helps them like to drop into this place in their head that they haven't ever gone. And it's a form of meditation. That's what they say about the walking, how to walk and how to look at everything. And that is a form of meditation. And we don't say that to the kids. Again, being a bridge is about making it fun and cool, but not really telling them like what they're really doing. And they like have these mind-blowing experiences. They don't know what's happening to them, but it's like, I didn't say anything weird, and I didn't say anything about spirituality. And that's what I love about Oregon, is they didn't do that. They just dropped you in, and they knew this container for you to like really like start to feel. And it was freaking mind-blowing. And because they weren't telling you anything, they weren't preaching to you about anything, they were holding space and a container for you to heal. And that's what I learned to do here.
That's awesome. So awesome. How does an Indian walk?
Well, most time when people walk through the forest, they're walking heel toe. So we're like we're in a hurry. Oh, let's go. Let's hike through the woods. Let's go. And they never see any animals or anything because everybody's freaking out. Like this is these people are scary. And when you combine this walk, you're walking with your toes. So what you're doing is you're feeling the earth with your toes. So and then you're feeling like is there a rock? I do a lot of things with bare feet because how many people do not ever take their shoes off, and so I try to be easy on them. But you feel the rock and you move your foot because you're feeling it. You're being careful. You're attending. You're making sure of what's happening in front of you instead of putting your heel down. And so then you can like trip a lot easier because there's something coming where you come down on, right? So you need to like feel your way through the forest. So, and what that does, it also makes it quiet and it makes you slow down. It makes you kind of think about what you're doing when you're stepping, but also you combine that with wide angle vision. We call it owl vision, called fox walking and owl vision. Owl vision is like, teaching them to see out their peripheral.
I know I try, like if I go for a walk, sometimes I remember because I thought it was walking toe to heel, in general, because I'd gone to a chiropractor that had said he was learning how indigenous people had walked so he could, because it was easier on your body. And so I knew it was somewhat kind of toe to heel, but I always get too busy um, with what I'm doing, and I'm trying to do the toe heel fast, like I do the heel toe, and it's like then you end up with sore shins, right? Or sore arches on your feet from the stress and.
Yeah.
Oh.
When you're doing toe to heel, you're being mindful and therefore you're present.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Back now. Okay. So you combine the wide angle vision with the fox walk. And what you're doing is you're looking at everything rather than tunnel visioning. When an animal sees you tunnel visioning, when you look straight at an animal, they think that you're going to kill them. So it's like it's an aggressive act to look straight at something. So it's like when you kind of see them out of the corner of your eyes and you're seeing everything, then you're connecting to it. You're like actually becoming a part of it. And if you go to the same place every day, the animals start to become thinking that you're part of it. Like I'll go out to the woods and I'll practice this every day. And I have like foxes that like literally I'll be sitting in the spot. They come out and they like scratch their ears and they're like they're totally cool with me. And like the little baby deer will like get up and then they'll see it's me and then they'll lay back down. And so these are kind of ways of like helping people gently, connect to all of the life that's out there in a conscious way by how they walk and how they look. And that alone is a huge way to reconnect with the spirit of the land. And
That's just
the
really
Apache
awesome.
elder. That's what the Apache elder taught. That's what it was all about. And he also taught his most important time of day is sunset and sunrise, and taking 15 minutes to be grateful and just to be. Isn't that crazy how hard that is to do? I have a hard time doing that, but it's so powerful. It's like the most powerful thing you can do. So we do this with the kids. We do this a sit spot. And it's funny because you think, oh, kids aren't going to want to sit still, for 15 minutes by themselves in the forest. But they love it. It's like nobody does this with them. They don't even know. And people are like, oh my gosh, I work with teachers and they're like, we try meditation in the classroom and it never works, they don't. But they're like, they've never experienced anything to see how these kids, how they're acting when they're here. Like because after the sit spot, then we talk about it. And they talk about all these magical things that happened while they were sitting there. I mean, it could be baby turkey. They can hardly wait to talk about it. And the baby turkeys walk by or they have a little snail crawl up on them. It's just like, it's like they just sat still and looked around, and that was freaking powerful. So that's why I love that. It's like, all about just holding the container, slowing them down, helping them feel safe. The Japanese Jinshin Jitsu Shinrin-Yoku. My son does Jinshin Jitsu. I do Shinrin-Yoku.
Right.
That they call it this place is called the Satayama Zone. The Satayama Zone is the place between the wilderness and the city, right? So we're on the edge. And when you're on the edge, it's the most powerful place to heal, because if you're too deep in the wilderness, it could be kind of scary if you're not used to it. If you're in the middle of the city, it's so noisy, you can't even hear yourself breathe, right? So you're in the middle, and it's Satayama Zone. And so that's where we're at. We're in the Satayama Zone. So people feel safe,
Yes. Interesting. I follow this astrologer. I'm in a class of hers, right? And it's like she says for 2024, it's the year of edges, basically. You're in the edge zone because we're in between a big change. And
Wow.
and and the and the energies are so big that it's easy to feel that it's all against you, right? And to lose your focus and to get, fall into the fight or flight, where your mind goes off. But if you can lean into the edges, for like you said before, in knowing that everything is there for a purpose and for your benefit, for each of our benefit, then your 2024 can be a wonderful, masterful, awesome total year, right?
And how do you become not afraid? And I think that's like such a big thing to teach people, is to tools so that they can navigate this without being afraid. And when that's the thing about what these kids are experiencing and what people are experiencing here, they take home with them. And it's like having a tool that you can then go, oh yeah, okay, I remember now. I just need to drop in here. I just need to listen to the wind, and I just need to open my eyes, and I just need to walk slowly. And they start to use these tools to navigate the rest of their life, because they would even tell us, you can practice these skills in Walmart. You can find yourself in a peaceful place wherever you are. This is with you. This is in you now. You get to carry this wherever you go. And I think that's what that's what's so important to teach people. It's like people might go to nature and they might experience it a little bit, but until they really have this magical connection and tools that they can take and they can like to help them deal with all this craziness of the change, of the being on the edge, you know, how do you navigate these worlds, and how do you do it and have fun? You know, that's another thing. It's like we gotta laugh, you know, and that's one thing I love to do with the kids is like just help them chill out, because we are freaking like stressed out in this world and scared and sad and all these things that, oh, especially kids, you know, like in the school system is just like, ugh, it's just terrible. So anything we can do to like just create space for them to remember who they are and to like have these little tools that they can always go back to. That, I swear, that got my sons through high school. And this is one reason why I'm doing this, is because I saw them, like they would say things to me like, Sam took himself out of high school and junior because he couldn't do it anymore. It was just being around the energy of so much depression, and he's very sensitive, and so much anxiety. He couldn't do it anymore. He said, Mom, I understand why. He says, I won't do it, Mom. I don't worry about it, but I understand why kids commit suicide. And you know, when your son says something like that to you, you like, oh, you got my attention. Like, you know, like, whoa, okay, we're out. You're out of there. We tried, you know, to work it in and figure out his schedule to help him not have so much stress. No, we're done. And he learned so many cool things about how to feel into his decisions, and you know, how to protect himself and energetically in these classrooms and things, and how to bring this white light into the room, and all these amazing things that he learned that, you know, you don't learn. These kids aren't learning. And you know, creating a normal atmosphere where it feels like everything's okay, and this is just nature. I thought I was going to Oregon. I'm just going to a nature camp. We're learning about Indian stuff with the kids, and I like came back like, what just happened to me? And I'm like, okay, there is something to this, and we're going to do this in Kansas. If I can't be in Oregon, I'm coming to Kansas, and we're doing this in Kansas. So
absolutely. I tried to do that with my little granddaughter. She's 2.5. And so whenever we have her, which is frequently, then it's like, I'm always trying to get her to put her hands on the tree and listen to the tree. And it's amazing that change on her face, because she feels it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can tell when she's tuning in.
The veil is thin when they're young. Yeah. It's good. Get to build that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying. But there's ants in the sandbox, and she can't do ants, because she thinks they're bees.
You know, and the more that she's around it, the more she detoxes from that fear. You know, and that was the beautiful thing about being in Oregon for a week. You watched everybody being a little stressed out at first, and they're like putting their chins up and they're pissed off at each other. They're like yelling at each other, and they're I mean, even I was like scared. Like on our way out there, my kids like spilled garlic butter on their sleeping bags, and I was just like, don't you understand that bears love garlic butter so much? It's like, we're all gonna die. Oh my God. And the look on their faces were like, oh my God, my mom's got it. And so I completely get it. Like I completely understand it. But once we're out there and we're like, okay, we're immersing. Okay, we're immersing. Takes a few days, but we're immersing. Okay, same thing at these camps with these kids. They're laying all over the ground. They got mud all over them. They're like in bliss. But starting out was not so like that.
Her son Sam was a guest on our podcast. You can look him up. I think wasn't he with us twice?
Mm-hmm.
I think Ramie, wasn't he? When Jessica had to work, and then Sam was with us. And I think he was on 2 episodes, like in February and maybe early March. or the end of January and then in February, something like that. And you can see, if you want to listen to those, and you can see what he's like Kelly was talking about, and what the big difference that the forest has made in their lives. So
They're a
I would
special
have loved,
family.
yeah, I grew up on a farm, but not with the with that awareness or attitude of, I think as young children, as a young child, very young, I felt that. But, it's so easy to grow up, and everybody's, all the adults around you, if they're not focused on that awareness, then you don't learn it. And it was, about production. Being outside was about working
Mhm.
and playing, but not about the awareness of nature itself, and what a awesome benefit it is for us. But could you tell us, when I was there in March with you, you were telling me about you had gone to Hawaii and organized other things, or were part of other things where you were working with Indian tribes or Indian people, or something?
Well, yeah, I do a lot. We do a lot of work with. I have a friend. I did a lot of work with Standing Rock as a photographer, right? So I connected with a lot of people there because I was one of the main photographers. One of the women I connected with, Potawatomi, she was Potawatomi. She had cancer. She asked me to ride a horse in the Wounded Knee ride, which is a 9-day ride, negative 20 degrees in the middle of winter. And I'm
Oh
not a horse
my.
person, but I was like, oh, okay, like, wow, you're asking me to do this. And so I did. And I've become really good friends with her husband, and she's died since then. Before she died, she named me her sister, adopted me as a sister, and gave me a Lakota name, Wape Lutawin, which is Red Leaf Woman, which is all about helping people transition from the busyness of summer into the silence of winter. And
Oh, that's beautiful.
so I have a lot of work that I do in our nonprofit with these horse rides, and we're getting ready. They're all about healing, and we did a 14-day ride for her because she died on the Potawatomi Reservation in Kansas, but she grew up a lot around Marty, South Dakota. She was a teacher and a principal and all this. So we did this 14-day ride, and so I had to help coordinate this thing. It's pretty intense, and we're doing the 4th one this September, and everyone is like invited to come ride a horse, give the riders some food, and all those things. It's in the 3rd week of September, I think the 16th of September. And what the neat thing about this one, this is the 4th year, which is like very a big deal. We had to do this for her for 4 years. It was just tradition, and it's like the 4 directions. And we're ending it at a powwow for the first time. We've done the Potawatomi Trail of Death ride for her in honor of her for the last couple of years, and it is all about where you're ending in a cemetery, or it's very depressing. So this time we're ending at a powwow in White Cloud, Kansas, and we're going through 4 reservations. So it's like a res to res ride. So we're starting in the Potawatomi Reservation, going through Sac and Fox, Kickapoo, and Iowa, ending in the Iowa Reservation at White Cloud at the powwow, which starts I think the 21st of September. And this is where my great grandma was born. So I have connections with White Cloud. That's on my grandma's birth certificate. Her mom was born in White Cloud Reservation. And, my grandmother's, my dad's mom was born on the Potawatomi Reservation. I just found this out this year. I didn't even know about this. And so I have connections with Iowa and Potawatomi, which it's all about the Indian Removal Act. That's where I come in. I'm kind of a product of the Indian Removal Act, where they wiped out their records. They, you can't prove anything. And this is my grandma and my great grandma. They were adopted, but the records were changed. They're like all over the place. Like you can't figure out anything. And but you know, it's definitely, she was born at an Indian trading post on the Potawatomi Reservation. It's probably pretty obvious. And also, I've done meditations that Sam gave me on connecting with my ancestors that have the plant medicine. And I was told, Ellen, this is my dad's mom, and I'm like, I don't know anything about her because she was an alcoholic, and I only saw her a couple times. I really didn't do the research because it was my mom's side, it was Iowa, and I always, you know, thought that that's where the plant medicine would come from. But the spirits were telling me Ellen, and so I just Google it, and boom, like there she is, born at the Indian trading post, and but I don't have a card. Like I'm not a legitimate like card bearing, which is all the United States putting this, you know, blood quantum craft, you know, bringing division and getting people like to judge each other. And it's an interesting journey. So I'm kind of here again, living in these worlds where even I'm 10th removed great grandfather direct to the Mayflower. 4 different people on the Mayflower.
Wow.
I'm a Mayflower Society person, and because my mom did it. And so this is William Bradford, who was the main guy, you know, leader of the Plymouth colony and all that. So I have like these pilgrims and these Indians. So I am a person that bridge walks. Like I have my ancestors like this, right? And I'm bringing these people together. Like, we gotta love each other, everybody. Come on, we gotta love each other. You know, no more division, no more division. Come on, it doesn't matter. Card, blood quantum, we're all mixed. You know, it's happening, and we got to just like love each other and come together. And so that's kind of like my life mission is about that, you know, because I can't prove it with my card, but it doesn't matter. You know, I know it, and so does my family, and that's all that matters. And I've been accepted in these tribes also. So I'm just like, you know, it's all about, you know, helping each other and loving each other. And, you know, the whole labeling thing all came from the United States government, and it's all, you know, trying to intermingle all the time. It was a healthy thing to do, but now they're forced to be separated and labeled and all that stuff. So it's an interesting world, you know, and it is time to change. And that is what it is all about right now, is helping people to connect to their hearts and to connect to each other and to do things differently. You know, it's not about competition anymore. It's about collaboration. Everything is about coming together. Everything is about, you know, whether it's to spirit world, to each other, whatever it is, it's all about connecting, reconnection, and love. That's it.
Yeah.
Anything we can do in that
absolutely.
is what it's about.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we go, could you tell people about when your children camps are this summer, in case there was some that were interested in having
Yeah,
their kids there?
they start next week. We have 10 weeks of camps, and you go to blueriverforestexperience.org,
And I'll have
you
the
can,
link below in the
and
description.
you just keep clicking on the little arrows, and it'll take you through all the different camps. And some of them are about full, but we have earth art camps where we like teach the kids all about how to make things out of things in nature. And that's really fun, the wild arts. And then we have mud warriors, but all of them really are basically helping them connect, you know, and creating this experience. So next week they go from 9 to 3, 5 days a week, starting on Monday. And then we have events that help support these things that we do, which are, one of them is something we do every equinox and solstice, and it's a fundraiser for our camps and helping us put some scholarships together for kids that can't afford it. And it's called Bello Sawar, which is beautiful sounds, and it's the beautiful sounds of the Blue River. And we record all these sounds in nature that are happening here: the coyotes, the owls, the storms, the water, the wind, the frogs, the crickets, and then we're putting it to music, and we're creating music with different indigenous instruments and sound bowls. And it's just like something that has like been created that's amazing. And I have this huge tent, and I have lights and things, and so all these beautiful lights and stars and everything inside the tent, and everyone lays down, and we do it with kids too, and everybody gets to chill out and just listen and connect with the music. And then when we're doing this, the nature around us also reacts. So the coyotes will come out of the forest and howl while we're doing it. And people are like, is that recorded or is that real? And it's so neat. It was like amazing experiences. So we do that at every equinox and solstice. And I just so much fun. And I play the guitar, and I've written songs, so I integrate that into it too. Like it's a whole experience. And I sing my Lakota songs, and there's just like a lot of really neat things that happen in it that are very unique. And so I love doing that. And then because I'm a musician too, an artist, and so I really love those. And then sometimes we have dinners that we do where we host very healthy vegan dinners, and that again is a fundraiser for the kids. And we do different kinds of nature connections for adults. And you just go on the website, and I do forest therapy walks and wild edible walks at the last Sunday of every month. And it's amazing because it changes constantly. The wild edibles are always different, so it's fun to teach people like how to do it with even an app, how to identify things, and then how to look them up and find out what they're good for. And then seeing them in real and having someone show them to you really helps people to like go, okay, now I can feel safe knowing that this is what this is. So we do that last Sunday of every month. So I think those are the main things that we do. Sam does nature connection things. Sam is amazing. We have a healing room here where he does massage therapy. This kid is like very intuitive. He helps people beyond massage therapy. He's Jinshin Jitsu, which is all teaching about people like the meridian points in their body and how to hold things for their own healing. And so there's a lot of amazing things that he does with that. So Sam's website is remembertouch.com. And so I highly recommend him. He's just part of the whole healing of this place, and such a wonderful young man. And so, yeah, that's part of what we're doing. All about healing, all about connection, all about love.
Awesome. All right. Totally great. Kelly, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. And
You're welcome.
yeah, I look forward to seeing you again in June when I'm there. And I guess we'll end there for now. But thank you so much
Thank you
for all your
Thanks for
wisdom.
having me.